Hello everyone, I'm your secondary researcher. Welcome to Minds and Markets with Santosh Gandhi. Recently, at the Startup Mahakumbh event, Union Minister Piyush Goyal asked Indian entrepreneurs to focus on semiconductor and AI startups, comparing us with Chinese startups. This created a lot of discussion and debate on the internet. Since I create content on startups and venture capital, I am personally curious why government is giving this much importance to semiconductor. So as usual, I went through a lot of resources to understand the semiconductor market, and I'm going to share that with you. Don't worry, this video won't be technical. I won't throw you complex jargons or confuse you. I will make it simple so any layman can understand the semiconductor market. First, what does the semiconductor industry do? They make and sell electronic chips. If you open any modern devices like mobile phone, laptop or TV, if you open it or break it, you can find some green board with lot of electronic chips, small electronic chips in it. That small electronic chips is made use of special materials called semiconductors like silicon, and that's why this industry is known as semiconductors market. These electronic chips are brains of every modern devices, starting from smartphones to self-driving cars, even AI systems. And there are different kind of electronic chips. Some stores data, they are called memory chips, SSD, RAM, all come under this category. And some chips process data, they are called logic chips. This CPUs, GPUs, AI accelerators all come under this category. Some chips sense light, motion, and temperature around us, and they are called sensor chips. That auto brightness feature in your phone, your step counter in your smartwatches, all work because of these chips. And some chips manage electricity, and they are called power management chips. They are used in smartphones for fast charging, and they are used in EV vehicles to control the battery usage. Some chips handle real world signals like radio waves and sounds, and they are called analog chips. The Wi-Fi, microphone, all work because of these chips. So all these semiconductor chips are basic building blocks of any modern day electronic devices. That's why the market size of semiconductor industry is 600 billion US dollars. Yes, it's a huge market, but it's also a strategic one. Whoever controls that chip production will control the future of AI, defense, automotives, telecommunications, etc. Right now, countries like US, Taiwan, China dominate in the semiconductor space. Interestingly, in US, for every single job in semiconductor industry creates an additional 5 jobs across the wider US economy. See, that's why India should catch up the semiconductor space. Because currently India is largely dependent on import of electronic chips to fulfill its semiconductor needs. In short term, importing the chips might work, but in long term, it will leave India in a vulnerable position in sectors like defense and AI. So that's why we need to build our own semiconductor ecosystem, and it also has a potential to bring lot of job opportunities in India. Indian startups can play a role in India becoming a dominant player in semiconductor market. And who knows, even someone watching this video could become a big player in that. And that's why I make video for. Before that, to realize startup opportunities in semiconductor space, we need to understand its value chain, business models, and emerging trends in it. Now, let's look at the semiconductor industry value chain. Like any manufacturing process, it starts with design and ends with finishing product. First, the chip is designed digitally and simulated using a special software. Once the design is finalized, then using raw materials like silicon, multiple chips physically built together as a single piece. This is called fabrication. Finally, it is divided into individual chips. Then each chip is assembled, tested and packaged so it can integrate easily into the green board we all know. When it comes to business models, there are primarily 4 business models in semiconductor industry. Fabless, focus only on chip design. Foundries, they focus only on chip fabrication. Outsourced assembly, testing and packaging is a separate business model. And IDM, integrated device manufacturer, which do everything end to end in-house. And there are other business models which support this whole manufacturing process, like supplying raw materials for making semiconductors, like building and selling machines, equipments for semiconductor manufacturing and assembly. And there are companies that build software tools for chip design. Think them of Figma or AutoCAD of a semiconductor industry. Even building IPs, patents on chip design and licensing them is also a business model here. And in this whole manufacturing process, in most of the cases, 50% of the value addition happens in design only. Power efficiency of chips, processing speed, all depends on chip design. Interestingly, the capital expenditure needed to set up a fabless design startup is relatively less than other business models. And it also has high gross margins than other business models. Now let's look at emerging trends in semiconductor market. Generative AI has become an important growth driver for semiconductor industry. According to Deloitte, logic chips that power generative AI could account for 20% of total revenue in 2024. Due to rapid growth of AI, demand for electronic chips that handle AI will going to increase in future. However, CPU and even some GPU couldn't process large amount of data that needed to run AI application. You might have seen Sam Altman tweeting, "My GPUs are melting." That's where logic chips like AI accelerators, which specifically designed to speed up artificial intelligence task demand increase. AI accelerators not only helpful in handling generative AI, but it also will be helpful in autonomous vehicles and robotics because they can handle real-time data well than traditional chips. Second emerging trend in this industry is AI in chip design. Like every industry using AI to make the process efficient and effective, semiconductor industry also using AI in their design process. AI design tools has potential to autonomously test human designs, identify errors, and suggest improvements. Third emerging trend is using advanced materials that replace silicon. Because the growing demand of electronic chips will outstrip the global silicon supply. That's why advanced materials like gallium nitride, silicon carbide, and graphenes are explored. A startup called Black Semiconductor in Germany, building electronic chips based on graphene, received 276 million funding from German government. Fourth emerging trend is due to rise of smart gadgets, smart machines, and EV vehicles, the demand for sensor chips and power management chips also increasing. And from my current understanding, any day reducing the size of the chips with more computational power, improving the energy efficiency of the chips, and advanced packaging of chips will always have significant demand in semiconductor market. So with all these emerging trends happening in semiconductor industry, where does the opportunity lie here for Indian startups? Yes, it's fabulous design. Not just because it has relatively low capital expenditure or high margins, but because India is already home to 20% of semiconductor engineers. Yes, Indian engineers are already involved in design of chips globally. This talent resource will lay a foundation for strong, fabulous design companies in India. It can be also seen as India's strategic entry point to semiconductor market because in design only IPs and creativity play a huge role than the brute workforce capital, which is perfect for agile and innovative startups. It allows companies to gain experience in design and build partnership with foundries. And already this wave is started. Currently, India has 40 plus fabulous design startups focusing on high volume, low margin industries such as IoTs, energy meters, and toy controllers, where power and analog chips mostly used. This says Indian fabulous design startups can scale in two ways. Either focus on mass market where designing one chip can be used by many companies, or work closely with few clients to build exactly what they need, slower but make more money per deal. But moving forward, using AI in chip design could be a big leverage, and also creating IP in chip design will strengthen the Indian fabless design ecosystem. Even though capital expenditure of a fabless design startup is relatively low than other business models, but it still needs more risk and patient capital from investors. Indian government also supporting this space via design linked incentive scheme that aims to offer financial support, and infrastructure support across various stages of semiconductor design. Second opportunity for India is assembly, testing, packaging of electronic chips, ATP. Currently, 75% of ATP happens in Taiwan and China, and Indian government is pushing this segment by providing 50% of capital expenditure support for setting up ATP facilities. India also has sufficient labor availability of technicians and entry-level engineering staff that needed for this space. Strategically, countries like Korea, Singapore entered the chip industry through ATP before moving into fabrication. And in India, there are initiatives in Gujarat and Tamil Nadu for setting up a semiconductor plant. But I don't know whether it's an ATP plant or foundries. So if someone watching know exactly what it is, please share it in comment section. When it comes to valuation of an Indian seed stage startup in semiconductor space, the revenue multiple is 16x. This means if a startup earns 1 million revenue, it could be valued at 16 million. So the median post-money valuation of an Indian seed stage startup in semiconductor space is 4 million US dollars. This data clearly indicates that venture capitalists are interested in this area. If you are a VC or founder raising capital in semiconductor space, you should understand that this industry is cyclical in nature. In last 34 years, this industry flipped boom to bust 9 times. This cyclical nature happened for few reasons. First, the semiconductor market is closely tied with smartphone, AI hardware and EV markets. Whenever those markets go down, this market also slows down. And second reason is during the boom times, people misjudge the demand, they overorder the chips, which led to excessive stocks when the demand drops. As an investor or founder, knowing the cyclical pattern is key. Finally, you say me, current government involvement in semiconductor space, is it enough? Are there gaps? Because in one side, China launched a big fund around committing 50 billion fund in semiconductor space. In another side, US has Chip Act itself. It also committed around 50 billion in semiconductor space. Indian semiconductor mission is a good start, but still there is lot of catch up we need to do. While India has strong talent for design, infrastructure for large scale fabrication and testing needs significant improvement. Only time will tell. That's it from me. If you have any feedback or if I missed any important insight, please share it in comment section. It will be helpful to improve the content because I want to create content that will be helpful for aspiring entrepreneurs. So show your support through subscribing to my channel. It will be a huge booster for me to continue this. And lastly, if you know someone interested in the semiconductor space or an aspiring entrepreneur, please do share this video with them. Bye. Signing off, Santosh Gandhi.